Hello again, YouTube. I'm going to finish reading Dinky Doo's Father Revealed. Like I said I would yesterday, but I didn't. Anyways. Let me reread the paragraph I was on so that I can get back into the tune of reading. Dinky smiled, curling up a bit on the floor as she nodded gently to herself. She could feel her mom's joy at reading this, and felt a longing to have gotten to see her mom like this, not having to put on a brave face every day, but honestly happy with no one around her who made fun of her. Several of the ponies from the kitchen had brought along soups, salads, and other delights. As the food was laid out, one thing caught my eyes, a wide variety of muffins of different flavors being set up by a tan unicorn. I trotted over, sniffing the muffins curiously before looking up at the stallion. These were the same muffins I had thought my brother was leaving me. I turned on the unicorn, my mane bristling as I started screaming at him. Who was he to have my brother's muffins? How dare he put them out when they were left for me? Did he take them? Of course. With my speech problems, it didn't come out quite the way I hoped. But the point was made that I was quite upset. He just looked at me quietly before starting to move his forelegs in weird motions before my face. I shook my head, not understanding, and started to yell again. Before feeling his soft left forehoof gently rest upon my muzzle tip, he motioned for me to follow. As I began to talk, why should I follow this strange unicorn anywhere? But he motioned again for me to follow, so I reluctantly agreed. Crap, I got lost my place for a second there. Sorry. He didn't lead me far, just across the pasture to a male nurse, whom he tapped on the rump insistently. The nurse turned back and smiled. I think his name was Red Cross, if I remember right. He was a nice Pegasus, and he had helped me in some flying classes. Yes? Oh, hello, Bran Muffin. What can I help you with? The tan unicorn brushed back his golden mane with a hoof before moving his hooves in weird patterns again. Red Cross looked at us both. The white Pegasus nodding as his short red mane bobbed in motion. Ah, okay. Ditsy, I'm going to tell you what Bran here is saying, okay? But talk to him like I'm not here. I remember I was a bit stunned at this, but nodded quietly before looking back at the unicorn. Why are you holding the gifts of happy rhubarbs and sunshine from Big Bro? The unicorn's hooves started their quick motions as I heard Red Cross's voice. I'm sorry. The muffins were for me. You just looked so sad when you got here. I just wanted to do something to cheer you up. They seem to make you happy, and you always look so pretty when you smile. So I kept bringing you muffins. Turned the Red Cross out of habit and said, what? But Green Marmot said, I've hardly got another word before I felt Bran's forehooves grip the sides of my head, turning me to face the unicorn again before a flurry of hoof motions began. Don't look at him, Red said as he translated. He's just my voice so we can talk. We're speaking, not the two of you. Don't ignore me like that again. I tried to calm down as they taught me to do in speech classes. To manage the right words finally, but the words came slow. I was unable to manage what I wanted to say. You are no my brother. You are a new pony. But you be nice and cheer me up. How come you no tell Ditsy this yourself? The unicorn sighed, pointing at his throat before making more motions as Red voice nickered out again. I was born unable to talk, just like you. I was unable to tell others my thoughts for a long time. But here at the farm, I was able to learn how to talk with my hooves, just like you in classes learn how to talk with your voice now. I remember nodding, looking over at the unicorn with a soft smile beginning to cross my muzzle. You can teach your talking that no one oh God, I can't read her voice. What she's saying, it just doesn't work. I remember nodding, looking over at this unicorn with a soft smile beginning to cross my muzzle. You can teach your talking that have no star explosions that cause pony confusions up rivers. He gave a soundless chuckle. His body was shaking as he nodded. Of course, Ditsy. I heard Red's voice say as Bran's hoof started moving again. I'll gladly teach you. For the rest of the day, as Celestia's sun set, Bran Muffin then began to teach me talk using hooves as he did. As everyone else began celebrating the graduation of Speedy Wheels, we too were starting to find something much more meaningful. We were finding each other with our hooves and our own personal way of talking. Dinky felt her eyes blur with tears again. She set this growth aside as she reached for a handkerchief. What? She set the squirrel aside as she reached for a huff kerchief. There we go. Gripping it in her hooves, she wiped away the tears from her eyes and smiled to herself. Mom, this is a side of you I never knew. After composing herself, Dinky looked at the scroll. Could she finish this? Did she really want to learn this much about her mother's younger days? Steeling herself, she gave a nod. Grabbing the scroll, she climbed up onto the bed and curled up under the covers. The scent of her mom all around her. She unraveled the scroll and picked up where she left off. It was hard work, but by the end of the summer, we no longer needed Red Cross to speak for Bran. We sat outside or in the main living area, talking with our hooves, the words our muscles refused to let us express correctly. He told me of his youth growing up in the bakery in Ponyville. His adopted parents, Carrot Cake and Cupcake. He was really their nephew. He had lost his mother and father in a flood that, when he was born, the same flood that robbed him of his vocal ability. But living there, he learned to bake and create food that filled our bodies every night. He may not have been able to talk growing up, but that silence had hit a brilliant mind within, full of culinary skill and expertise. Specialty, though, was muffins. He was quickly getting me addicted to those baked delights, even though we were both happy. Every day after delivering the letters and packages about the farm, I'd fly over to the kitchen and help Bran with preparing food. It was simple life, but we were happy. Truly happy. We'd spend our time laughing and talking with our hooves, telling each other about our days, our hopes, and our dreams, and for us it was enough, at least at first. I don't remember when it started, but we began to become more than friends. The occasional nuzzle while cooking, the hugs when we met, the long periods where we just smiled at each other as our foreheads rested together while at different events. The other farm residents and nurses seemed to see the growing relationship long before we did. But all this changed at the autumn harvest. Every fall, after the crops that helped pave the farm were harvested and sold, the farm would celebrate with a large party. There was always a vote for Prince and Princess to oversee the evening. And lots of other residents kept giving me a knowing wink whenever I delivered their mail in the week leading up to the harvest party. Then the day the party arrived. We were all hard at work to make it the best night ever. Brandon and I worked so hard preparing to feast all our friends on the farm as it grew later in the day. Finally we finished and we were able to carry everything out in the carts before setting up a long buffet of delicious food. Oh, Dinky, I wish you could have seen it that night. Several other guests of the farm had decorated the pasture and, with the help of the nurses, had set out paper lanterns. The whole pasture grew in soft glows of red, oranges, and yellows. Everything was just perfect, Dinky. Completely perfect. The head nurse, a unicorn named Mayor Bolcher, gave a speech about how proud she was that we all had accomplished this year. We all whinnied and clapped our hooves in the air, happy to have a night of fun as a reward. As she ended the speech, she then whipped out an envelope. Now to announce your Prince and Princess of the night. She used her magic to open the envelope and read aloud. Prince Bran Muffin and Princess Ditsy-Doo. Everyone around us started to applaud and whinny. We both just looked about in shock. Several other residents started rushing our still-stunned bodies up towards the stage as we felt toy crowns rushed atop our heads. Finally, we reached over the stage and looked out. Crowds of our friends cheering for us as they all began to chant one word over and over again. Kiss, 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 kiss. We looked between each other as Mayor Fletcher tried to quiet the group, but they just kept cheering the word that was chanted again and again with growing intensity. Kiss, kiss, kiss. I looked at Brandy and looked back at me, and we both shrugged. At the time, we just wanted to quiet the other ponies so we could get on with the celebrations. So we leaned in close as our muzzle lips met. I don't know how long we held that first kiss, Dinky. It was like summertime flying and even muffins all together. It was like being hugged by quarterback, like my parents were alive, and it was all rolled up into a ball of warm feelings that ran through my body like lightning. I felt my eyes close as everything else in the world disappeared, and it was just Bran and I alone. The kiss was finally broken when we just looked at one another. It was that I heard cheering the others in the group turned, seeing tears of joy in their eyes as they all clapped approvingly. Both Bran and I blushed furiously. our muzzles turning almost beet red as we both motioned for the festivities to begin. As everyone in the buffet started eating, we looked over at one another for the longest time. It felt again like the rest of the world was fading away, and it was just us again. Lifting his forelegs, Bran began to say the words in our own private language. I love you. Smiling, I motioned back to him as tears started to brim in my eyes. I love you too. That night, after the party wound down, I didn't return to my room. Rather, I followed Bran to the apartment he had behind the kitchen. You don't want to know what happened that night, and many nights after that. Only know that we both loved each other very much, and it wasn't until winter solstice that I began getting sick quite often. Oh ho ho! I'm sorry. Anyway. We're both so scared, Dinky. For the first time in a few months, muffins were making me sick. I didn't want to eat Bran's muffins cooking. I wanted to eat things like chocolate-covered pickles or cupcakes with hot sauce and sprinkles. Eventually, with Bran's urging, we went to Mayor Blucher to get me checked out. She watched us and listened as we both told her of my health issues. She asked a few very personal questions that caused us both to blush. Finally, feeling my growing belly with her forehead, she told us the news. I was not sick. I was pregnant. Bran and I were going to have a fowl together. Things began to move very quickly after that. Bran's parents were called, and we were both helped in packing up our things. There was a party planned, and all our friends gave us such big hugs and well wishes. The farm was our home, but it was no place to birth or raise a fowl, so we were to stay with his parents, where we could be able to raise a fowl easier. We traveled by Pegasus carriage to Ponyville, where his parents welcomed us with open arms. Ah, Dinky was wonderful. Bran started to work in the bakery. His parents helped set us up in a house outside of Ponyville. And one day, just after winter wrap-up, I began to feel sharp pains. Nurses were called as I laid in our bed, racked in pain, but it was all worth it. After the pain, there you were in our arms, Dinky, our most precious muffin of all. We lived together for 3 years after that, Dinky, just the three of us as one big, happy family. You were too young to know that your father loved you with every fiber of his being, but the farm needed him. They kept trying to find someone to replace him as cook, but not a one of them had the patience to handle the job. They needed him, and the possible outbursts from residents made the farm a place you could never grow up in. We wanted more of you. We wanted you to have a life neither of us could have. You had your father's brilliant mind and my voice if I had been born normal. You were the best of both of us, joined into one, so we made the painful choice to be apart until a replacement could be found and your father could come home. But several weeks passed, and I received a letter from the farm. Your father never arrived. They sent out search parties, and I spent every bit I could trying to find him. But it was like he vanished. No one knew where he was. I knew he'd never abandoned you or me, so he must be dead. I only wish I could prove to you how much he loved you, my precious baby muffin. I only hope this letter serves some solace to that fact. Dinky sat there sniffling to herself. She knew how much her mother had given up so much already, that there's no point that she'd even given up a stallion in her life. All for her. Setting the scroll on the bed, she slipped out of bed and trotted out to the living room. Ditsy-Doo sat at the table, her head in her hooves if wrecked and worried. Dinky trotted up, giving her mom's side a tight hug as Ditsy looked down. Smiling in a relieved way, she leaned down to hug her daughter back as they held each other for the longest time. Dinky looked up at her mom for a moment and whined out, Can you teach me to talk like you and Dad do? I'm going to find Dad. He's got to be out there somewhere, and when I meet him, I want us to be able to talk so I can find out what happened. You do so much for me, I'm going to do one thing for you. Ditsy bit her lip, trying to hold back tears as she nodded. Of course, my precious muffin. That night, after dinner, Ditsy began to teach her daughter the same way she'd learned, one word at a time. It wasn't until the next morning that they realized Dinky's cutie mark had finally appeared. 2 big muffins and a smaller muffin resting between them. Oh my god, it was so cute! Oh, I'm gonna cry. How saddening. Anyways, bye guys.